on the different domain. So I expect that you will use this opportunity to get more and more learning, get more and more exposure. So this is my wish. Uh, Regarding this topic, I consider this is very, very pertinent in present condition. Because if you see in the larger context, the motto of government of India is growth with justice, or we say growth with distributive justice. And this distributive justice includes all this inclusiveness, okay, opportunity of equality and equity. All those are the part of distributive justice. I think it is a little deeper question, and we should consider in a deeper way also. Because in society we found this exclusion is there. A number of people are excluded, disadvantaged, or discriminated, or marginalized. Interestingly, this is happening in all the societies, whether it is a developed country, whether it is a developing country, or whether it is least country, less development. Everywhere you will find this. It's interesting in the sense that somewhere it is official or unofficial. In some places it's visible, or in some places it's hidden. In some places it is intended, or in some places it is unintended. But you will find this in every society. So the individual, groups, organization, or community, they are suffering with this exclusion part everywhere. Yeah. So we should be a little bit careful about this because it has a number of factors, it has many dimensions. It can be economic also, it can be financial, it can be political, it can be social, it can be cultural. So we should be a little careful about the different dimensions. And also the different factors are there. It can be gender, it can be sex, it can be ethnicity, it can be color, it can be race, it can be conflict, it can be displacement, it can be distress, or it can be also with the conflict among the groups. So a number of factors are there, and it has different dimensions, and it has uh, influence on everyone in all the society. And so the biggest challenge is that how we are going for this, how we are going for inclusiveness in the society for the betterment of the life of the people. And so almost all the agencies should take the initiative for that, whether it is the policymakers, or whether it is the executive, or the implementer, or whether it is enforcement officials, or whether it is society or institution. So the most important challenge is that we have to identify who are the groups they are excluded. What are the institutions that is promoting this? What are the structure that is strengthening this? And also what are the agencies and what are the resources that are driving? Because the people whose life is depending on those resources, those institutions, they are deprived of them. They are not able to make the decision on the issues which affects their life. And that's why it is a very, very big concept, and we should be very, very careful because it requires the efforts of civil society, civic society, development organization, judiciary, all are in this. So I congratulate the team for choosing this topic, which is very interesting, and I think you all will benefit with our distinguished speakers. They can highlight different dimensions. So all the best wishes to you all, and use this opportunity to have more and more learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your captivating words. Now, we would like to invite the faculty coordinator of Team RMAX, Professor T. Kumar, sir, for sharing his valuable inputs.
Please, sir.
Respected Father Registrar, respected speakers from the industry, respected colleagues and my dear students. A very good morning to all of you. First of all, let me congratulate the student team RMAX for organizing Abhivyakti', which they have done after a gap of 2 years independently without the help of CAS. And this they managed to do within a short duration. The theme of this year's Abhivyakti', as we know, is inclusive growth for rural prosperity. It is my belief that at a deeper philosophical level, there is an organic link between the macro and the micro. So it would be in the logical scheme of things to situate this theme within a larger macro geopolitical context. In the year of the Lord 2023, the global economic development is no longer held hostage by, if I may say so, a group of rich boys club like the G7, the group of 7 rich countries, or the 38 OECD countries. As we saw in the recently concluded G20 summit at Delhi, under the dynamic leadership of India, the African Union, a grouping representing the entire continent of Africa, which is approximately 10 times the size of India and which is approximately having the same population of India, has also assumed its rightful place as a member of the G20. If we take another grouping like the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, this grouping has been further strengthened by the addition of 6 new emerging economies. So, at a global, international, geopolitical level, the cliche I word, that is inclusion, has proved itself to be not just a bleeding heart moral imperative, but a much needed economic imperative. Extrapolating this concept to the rural grassroots level, we can safely come to a conclusion that to achieve economic growth at the national and the international level, achieving rural prosperity at the grassroots level is a must. Now, in this Abhivyakti', we have 4 sub-themes. They are rural marketing, inclusive finance, agribusiness, and last but not the least, CSR and ESG. These 4 sub-themes are located in the rational and the humanitarian midpoint between, on the one hand, the objective of business development, profit maximization, increase in the top line and the bottom line, and on the other hand, achievement of socio-economic equity and justice. In this age of social media, nowadays everybody is an intellectual. This is good in a way because the word intellectual has been democratized. But then the flip side is half-baked knowledge can masquerade itself as intellect, and that may be counterproductive. In this context, I know that poetry is not exactly fashionable these days, but I cannot resist my temptation to quote 4 lines from a poem titled An Essay on Criticism by the 18th century English poet Alexander Pope. Quote, "A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Drink deep or taste not the Pyrean spring. The shallow draughts intoxicate the brain, and drinking deep sobers us again." End quote. So, to enlighten all of us from this deep Pyrean spring of deep knowledge, to enlighten all of us from this infinite fount of knowledge, wisdom peppered with practical insights, we have with us in Abhivyakti' 14 distinguished speakers from the industry who are going to do exactly that over the course of the next 2 days. And like you, I'm also eagerly waiting for that. Once again, welcome to Abhivyakti'. Thank you.
Now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our Father Registrar, along with all the faculty members and the dignitaries present over here, for taking out time from the busy schedule and joining us today. We express our profound gratitude for your presence at this event. Now, I would also like to request all the dignitaries and faculty members to please move to the green room for the tea break.
कांची कांची ठीक नहीं है
First year student, please call everyone, your friends, your big bahar.
Now, we would like to begin our first session of Abhivyakti' 2023, that is, Evolving Customer Trends in Agribusiness. Customer preferences in agribusiness are shifting significantly. Sustainability and transparency have become paramount, driving the rise of organic and regenerative farming methods. Locally sourced, farm-to-table products are gaining favor, emphasizing freshness and reduced environmental impact. Technology integration is reshaping the industry with online platforms connecting consumers directly to farmers, enhancing convenience and supply chain traceability. Health conscious choices are on the rise, with a growing emphasis on nutrition and wellness in agricultural products. Ethical consideration, such as animal welfare and fair labor practices, are also influencing purchasing decisions. Agribusiness must stay attuned to these dynamic shifts to remain competitive in the changing landscape.
Now, I would like to invite our first speaker of the day, Mr. Shivendra Gupta. Sir is the co-founder and CEO of Samucha Ventures Private Limited, specializing in operating F&B outlets, particularly tea cafes and health-like kitchens. His diverse experience spans e-commerce, on-demand logistics, microfinance, and banking. He is also a TEDx speaker. Prior to this, he has also worked across domains that include e-commerce, on-demand logistics, microfinance, and banking. With a huge round of applause, please welcome Mr. Shivendra Gupta. We welcome you, sir.
Now, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Unupam Kaushik, Senior Vice President of Olam India. Sir has been building and leading businesses successfully for over 25 years in risk management, commodity value chain services, commodity exchanges, physical and digital infrastructure, commodity building online marketplaces, financial services, procurement, and international trading of agricultural commodities such as cotton, oilseed, and fig complex. Also, managing large and complex supply chains for integrated textile operations. Sir was earlier associated with National Collateral Management Services Limited as President and Deputy Chief Executive Officer. Sir did his fellowship from University of Memphis and holds a master's degree in agribusiness development and financial management from ILMA. With a huge round of applause, please welcome Mr. Unupam Kaushik. We welcome you, sir, to that.
Now, we would like to introduce our moderator for the session, Professor Balram Bhushan, sir. Sir has completed his FPM in Organizational Behavior from XLRI Jamshedpur. Sir did his MSc in Biotechnology from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, with vast experience in the field of education, serving for 2 years at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. He is now associated with the School of Rural Management, Exim University, for the last 4 years. Now I request Professor Balram Bhushan, sir, to kindly commence the session. Please, sir.
Distinguished speaker of the session, RM coordinator, my colleagues, students, and all those who are present here. So, if I look at the session and basically about the customer trend, let me directly come to the topic because it's better to listen instead of welcoming. So, let's me directly jump to the topic. So, if you look at customer trend, so if we see how customers are evolving across the world, we have seen the era where marketing is all about selling corn to a bar. It means there was a huge information asymmetry, and you have to use that information asymmetry to sell someone something which may not be required with that particular person. And that era is gone. That era is gone long back. Then there was another era which emerged in front of us, which says customer is God. And if someone is God, what you have to please. Whatever you want to do to please, just please. And then you will get a return. Even that era is gone. Now, customers are like a human being, they are rational. Right? They want to listen the truth. Right? They don't want to be happy. They don't want to be cheated. What they want to listen the truth. Look at one aspect of the truth. All of us want to buy a shiny apple. And how do we eat? Peel it up. Where is the shine? Actually in the dustbin. Are you really interested in buying that shiny apple? Now customers are not thinking in that way. Now customers are thinking about something which is organic, something which is real. And if something is real, you will not get that shine. Right? Because that fruit is coming out of an open space, right? And going through all the variation in the middle. You cannot ensure shining, that shine every apple. Every apple cannot look alike. That's what we, at least I, teach in my courses of organizational behavior. Every human being is different, so every apple is different. And the moment every apple started looking exactly same, there is a problem. There is a problem and there is a manipulation. So that era is actually gone. Now people are ready to pay more for things which are real, not shiny. And specifically after the pandemic, look at those stuffs which were called as food for poor are now in high demand and being priced at very high rate. All those millets, right? So 50, 60 years ago, and even not 50, 60 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, right? Rich people were not interested in consuming that. That were actually poor food. But it's not that right now. Now, those are more nutritious and more in demand and even higher in prices. So customer trends are shifting, and it's not a new thing which is shifting right now. It's always shifting, but present world is facing a unique challenge in terms of availability of information. Information is quickly available. Information is quickly available. Because information is quickly available, the problem is not about the availability of the information, but figuring out what is the right information. And here is the place of marketing. If you can help customers to figure out or identify what is right information and what is misinformation, obviously customer will come to you. And most of the time, all prosperous businesses is doing that. All prosperous businesses is trying to do that. So with this small introduction topic, without delaying any further, I will invite the first speaker, Mr. Gupta, to take the discussion forward. And please listen carefully, because again, what we are talking about, as Mrs. Singh sir said, it's all about learning, and learning is relatively permanent change in behavior. Right? So we are not looking here as far as knowledge is concerned. We are not talking about understanding. We are talking about here learning. So what you hear and what you understood, that doesn't matter if it's not bringing change in the behavior. So if you still want to eat a shiny apple, right, then there is no learning. Right? So with that, I invite our first speaker, Mr. Gupta, to take the decision forward. So you have another 25 to 30 minutes.
Respected professors, my fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, today I am
honored to be here with all of you at Exime University to share my views and insights on this ever-evolving trends, customer trends in the agribusiness sector. As a co-founder at Samocha, which is a tea cafe chain, and Tea Origin, which is a premium direct-to-consumer brand around tea leaves and tea blends, I am excited to share with you all and discuss with you how the customer trends are shaping the agribusiness landscape in India. So, apart from this, I'll also try to provide guidance to the aspiring agriculture professionals about how they can pace up with the changing landscape of this dynamic field. Before we delve into discussing about customer trends, I'll give you a brief about Samocha and the origin. So, after my MBA, I was working at a bank called Jeevan Small Finance Bank, which works into the microfinance sector earlier, but now they are a bank. At that time, I used to visit a lot of places where they do micro lending kind of a thing. And then at that time, I saw that the people to which Jeevan lends, most of those people were working in the agriculture sector. And when I used to see the prices of things which were being sold in the urban areas and the prices or the costs which were getting paid to these rural farmers, I saw there was a big difference. So at that time, I thought ki if I start something in future and if by chance if it is related to agriculture, I will ensure that the justice is done with the people who are at the grassroots level. So now we can start with a brief introduction about Samocha and Tea Origin. Samocha is a tea cafe chain based out of Kanpur. We have 15 outlets in India, out of which 6 are operating in Kanpur. We are working inside IIT Kanpur as well. It's not just a tea cafe chain, it's a business which primarily is related to agriculture. So we pay utmost attention to sourcing the best of raw materials to ensure that our customers do not impact their health. On the other hand, Tea Origin is a brand around leaf teas wherein we go deep down into figuring out the best of tea plantations across India from Siliguri to Darjeeling to your Ooty or to Palanpur, different regions. And then we go to Kerala, different parts of Kerala to figure out the best of spices. And then we do custom blending of these teas in-house in Kanpur as per the taste and preferences of our customers. So Tea Origin is all about the agricultural roots of our products. Now we can start discussing about the recent trends, customer trends into the agribusiness sector. I'll start with the first one, which is sustainability and ethical sourcing. So in today's world, most of our customers are very conscious about how their products are being made or how they are being procured or what kind of manufacturing processes are being involved into the making of those products. They want to know that there was no harm being done to the environment, to the people, or the people who were involved in the manufacturing process, they were fairly paid. These are few of the trends which customers really care about. So they are even willing to pay more a little premium on which they used to pay earlier, but the product should be more sustainable. You might have heard of a brand called Chetna Organic, who is mostly into the organic cotton and all. And what they have done is not just creating the best of cotton, but they have done a lot of upliftment work for the farmers they associate with. This is one thing which I really appreciate about them. If I can give you a few more examples so that you can connect better how customers are preferring sustainability. So there's a friend of mine, Nikki Jha, who came to the Shark Tank season 1. He has built a solution called Sabji Koti, which, like if you see street vendors who sell vegetables on the streets for every household in India going to the lanes and roads, right? So what happens is their vegetables like they spoil within 2-3 days because they do not have bandwidth or budgets to have the deep freezer or those kind of storages. What he has built is a solution wherein the veggies can be placed inside a box which is made of a fabric, and these veggies can be will not be spoiled for around 30 days. The good part is that this solution works out without any electricity. How does that work? It's an outcome of an innovation that they have done within the IIT Kanpur campus. He is a PhD scholar at IIT Kanpur. What they have done is when the veggies get spoiled, there are some gases and some chemicals that release out of vegetables and fruits, because of which the spoiling happens. And the fabric with which this device has been built up is that it reduces the emission of these chemicals and gases, so that the veggies remain fresh for a longer period of time. So this is one thing, right? He has built out a solution, and the good thing is he is tying up with governments and NGOs as well, who are working directly with farmers or the roadside street vendors of vegetables and fruits to roll out a solution in masses, because they will, when the prices for the vegetables will be low, they will be able to buy them at a cost, and then it will be easy for them to get a better livelihood and reduce the wastage as well. I'll tell about one more solution. Like, if you have seen recent packaging, more on the sustainability part, most of the brands which used to have plastic packaging earlier, even in the food and beverage sector, if you talk about the Big Basket or a Blinkit, earlier they used to deliver fruits and veggies in a plastic kind of a packaging. Now they have moved to eco-friendly bubble wrap or eco-friendly paper-based wrap, which ensures that the material is biodegradable. This is one thing which is into the sustainability segment. Now there are few more sectors which are not directly related to agriculture, but they use agricultural products at its core. So there are newer industries which are coming at, like you might have heard of bamboo cotton, t-shirts made of bamboo cotton, or your t-shirts made of hemp fiber. These are the new things which people are trying. They are willing to pay more. And taking them as a step towards sustainability. We source our teas directly from tea plantations. What we do at Samocha and Tea Origin is that we ensure that we pay them the adequate amount. We ensure that the crop cultivation might be in lower quantity, but it should not have large number of pesticides and all, so that the quality remains good. While sourcing our teas, I went to a place called Baha Tea Estate. It's a 700-acre tea plantation in Himachal Pradesh. What they do, like newer industries like agricultural tourism is also getting developed. What they have done is they have 6-room property within a 700-acre tea plantation. This property is around 6, 7, 8 rooms, very luxury property. What they have done is they have, whoever goes there, they have all kind of plantations within the property itself. So if they are serving you mushrooms or anything, so everything which is coming there, even the cheese or the oil that they are using, right, that is in-house processed from that property. So this is something which is coming up in India. People are willing to try out agricultural tourism as well. There are newer places in Delhi or NCR regions as well, wherein there is a person who does the milking and all, and they have made a place where you go for a 2-hour walk. They will show you how the milking takes place, how the milk is converted into butter, and then you can see that the quality of those products are very good compared to the alternative products which were in the market earlier. They are into A2 ghee, etc. as well. So this is something which is mostly about sustainability and the ethical sourcing part. I believe this is very important in the current days for any brand to work on the sustainability part. This is not something which will keep you apart, but it will add more loyalty with your customers as well. The second thing which I wanted to talk about, and which is the growing trend in the customer segment, is your health and wellness. So most of the people in urban areas are working and they do not have time to take care of their health. Your fooding is primarily what your health is all about, right? So there are people who are willing to, like, I guess most of the people are willing to pay a premium on the quality of fruits or vegetables they want to try out. Even the diets like keto diet or those kind of plans, if you go to places like Bangalore, Mumbai, you will have, like, people do not have time to cut fruits and all. So a ready to eat kind of a solution wherein you have a mix of fruits and getting delivered at your doorstep on a daily basis, kind of a subscription plan, right? So these are newer things which are coming up into the agribusiness sector, which are connecting directly farmers to the end users. Even companies like Zomato and Swiggy, what they have done is, if any restaurant is, since I come from the restaurant background, if any restaurant is into this thing like providing any healthier meal, they have a particular tag wherein that meal can be tagged as a healthy meal in the green category, which is, and they give that dish a more visibility on their platform. They have a curate section as well. So it means that the people, the players in the ecosystem, all are putting their efforts to create awareness about health and wellness, and people are willing to pay more. So this is a growing trend, and this will continue for quite a time. The third thing which I wanted to talk about is your local and artisanal products. So recently, like as I told about Guwahati estate, what they have done there is, so if you go to any hotel property, they have their shampoos and those kind of things, right? But what they have done is, they have tried to make most of these things from the plantations within their property, and the storage, they have not stored them into into the plastic bottles, but they have replaced them with the ceramic bottles which are made by local people there. So it improves the livelihood of local farmers, local artisans as well. And since these things are not being added to the city again, like it's not going to the bin, it will be reusable thing. So it will reduce pollution part as well. This thing I saw here at XIMB campus as well, because most of the places you will find plastic bottles, but this is a good thing that I saw here, that you are using reusable products for drinking water, etc. as well. This is third thing, so people are willing to try local and artisanal products. If people are going to Kerala, they will try to see what is specialized about Kerala. If they are going to Gujarat, they will try to figure out what is specialized about Gujarat. So food choices are getting broader. People are even willing to try the global food choices. The breakfast palette is getting broader, right? This is something which is growing. Then your technology and convenience. So earlier the technology and convenience, people are wanting everything at the tap of a button. So it started with Amazon or Flipkart, mostly into general categories like your electronics or maybe general things, but later they moved out to Amazon as a category called Fresh, Amazon Fresh, which is basically majorly in metro cities only, but they deliver from farmers directly to your homes within 2 to 3 hours. That is what they do. So this thing started with the local e-commerce players like Amazon and Flipkart, but recently there's a growing trend about product-specific e-commerce players. So if you talk about Milk Basket, who are sourcing milk from local farmers and delivering it to you on a daily basis on a subscription plan. If you talk about meat, so we have a player called Ashias, right? So they are ensuring that the quality of meat which is delivered to you is fresh, is of utmost quality, and is done using the sustainable practices as well. So this is something which is coming into the technology and convenience sector. Like if there is a way of delivering your farm fresh produce to the end user in a convenient way, in an easy way with which he can order it directly, it is something which is going to be in the trend. Then of customizations and personalization. This is something which everyone talks about. If you are going to eat something, and if you have options of personalization of it. So since I come from Samocha, we have lot of customizations for teas. Like if you want sweetener, if you want with honey, without honey. These things are things which give people more convenience. There are coffee roasteries in India, which is a agricultural produce. If you go to places like Coorg is basically known for coffee productions in India. CCD also has their plantations. So if you go to those places, what you will see is that there are custom roasteries which are willing to roast the coffee beans as per the preference of customers. So the standard is gone, custom has come up. Mostly for anything you talk about weather, you talk about anything, customizations are something which is going to be in trend, and this is common for agricultural produce as well. The next thing which is very growing at a fast pace is plant-based meat. So people are willing to not compromise on taste as well, but they are willing to try alternate options which are more environment friendly or which are more friendly to the earth. So even bigger brands like KFC or McD, they are working on alternate meat products, which is plant-based meat, and this is something which people are willing to pay for. Even if you talk about some of the brands who are into the food processing sector, like McCain or your Hyphen Foods, which is based out of Pune, what they have done recently in last 3-4 years is that they have put in a lot of efforts on the health and wellness part, and they have brought us soya bean patty, your sabudana patty instead of regular aloo patty, which is more healthier as well, which is more plant based. There is a brand called Raw Pressery, which is they are into fresh juices and all. So if you talk about juices, earlier juices used to be like 10% of juice, 20% of sugar, and like 70% of water. If you want to read labels, you can do that. So in the current scenario, people or the consumers are willing to read labels as well. They pay a lot of attention to the labels of products that they are buying. So in the same way, plant-based meat and alternate meat products are something which is into the trend, and there will be a major shift into this part in the coming years. Transparency and traceability. I saw someone talking about in the introduction session about transparency and all. So transparency is something about which government is also putting in efforts so that the originality of the product remains. If you talk about Kashmiri saffron, so they have done geotagging as well. If you order from some of the platforms, some brands have done geotagging, which gives you a trust that this product is from Kashmir. Same is the case with your sandalwoods from Mysore, or the spices or like elaichi and all from Kerala, right? So transparency and traceability is something which will add more trust, and brands are taking this as a step to build more trust with their customers and to better engage with them. The next is your social responsibility and community engagement. So it's not just doing these things, but telling your customers about these things, that you are taking these steps as a brand. Like they need to engage or build a community. They need to utilize social media channels as well, that these are the steps they are taking. Some of the brands, what they do, like if you talk about Vahdam teas, that is a very big brand into the tea segment in India. Vahdam teas, some of you might have heard of it. They are based out of Siliguri and Delhi. What they do, they have a livelihood program for their tea farmers, wherein they educate the children of their tea farmers up to class 12, and after that they have a merit-based scholarship for the children of the tea farmers. That is something which is not a norm in the industry, right? You go back into the supply chain and see what you can do for the people who are primarily a part of your business. So they have done great job there. So social responsibility is something about which lot of NGOs are working. I went to Almora last year, and there is a NGO called Arohi there. What they have done is they have figured out what is specific about Uttarakhand. So Uttarakhand has your plum, peach, those kind of things. These are very common there. So they have set up different units in different regions of Uttarakhand for manufacturing of your peach oil or plum oil or apricot oils, and they have ensured that the jobs will be given to the people who are from the villages there itself. So this is something which they have done. This is part of the social responsibility of NGOs or brands to ensure that the livelihoods of your primary stakeholder is uplifted. Then your global food choices. So earlier Indian breakfast used to be like your puri sabji, idli, like those kind of poha, those kind of choices. But now the food choices are getting global. People are trying more global dishes into their breakfast, into their dinner, lunch, everywhere. You go out for snacking. Healthy snacking is something which is emerging out. COVID gave a lot of push to the snacking part. People started eating badly, and after that, there were new brands who are like cholesterol free, fat free. Lot of snacking brands came up post COVID, which want to give you a trust about that the snacking is good, but it should be healthy. So, like food choices are going global, and this is something which will here to stay. Then your farm to home or vegetables and meat and ready to eat category. So ready to eat category is something wherein people working in the corporates do not have much time to cook at home. Even the brands like Sankalp or some other brands in the food processing sector have come up with ready to eat dal makhani or other veggies as well, wherein you just have to heat and serve. These kind of things are coming up, and if you can, as agriculture professionals, can develop or help develop some of the solutions which can give people more convenient about their food choices into the ready-to-eat segment, this will be a plus. Most of the brands, if you talk about Haldiram's, Bika Nirvana, all of these brands are going for RTE or ready to eat categories. As agriculture professionals, it's your utmost priority to know more about or to keep up the pace about the developing challenges. There are few ways which I can suggest to you so that you can stay updated with the industry trends. One thing is embrace innovation. So embracing innovation is something as I told, there have been a lot of changes till now, but the supply chain of cold foods or the foods which are having less days of shelf life is still not very good. Like if you talk about the coconut production in southern part of India and it goes to north part, 30 to 40% of wastage is there for the coconut, which coconut water people use on a daily basis, right? Which is not generally produced in north part of India. So this supply chain is something which can be improved upon, and innovation is something which can be applied on these things to ensure the reduction of food wastage, etc. So you need to see around and stay connected and read about different things, different problems the active businesses are facing, and based on that, you can come out with different solutions. So embracing innovation is something which should be a part of your day-to-day life. Like if you see a problem, your mind should trigger key why this is happening or what I can work around this to bring a change. Then sustainability matters. As I told, sustainability matters. So you will be going out to organizations like Amul, Mother Dairy, or other cooperatives, etc. Out of your after this your 2-year program, right? So this sustainability thing is currently in trend, but in future it will be a given base. Like it will not give you a plus, but you will be out of market if you do not adopt to sustainable practices. So this is something which should be at the base of any improvement or any new innovation, any development you do within the organization. Then the third thing is your consumer behavior and connect. So even if you start your own startups or work with organizations, do ensure that you reach out to farmers who you are working with or reach out to customers directly so that you get to know the real world problems instead of being in the corporate. Then adaptability and learning. So adaptability is something which is should be part of your day-to-day life. Like times keep changing. COVID gave along a very big shift to the whole world, how the world works. So this is something which should be a part of your life and when you join the corporates as well. As I told you about these things, I assured that I have given you few trends which are into the world at the moment, and these are the trends which will gain momentum at a fast pace in the times to come. Later on, you can ask me questions after this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Gupta, for insightful stories. I will say stories. A lot of stories he told, and these are the stories coming from the ground. So, just concluding what he wanted to communicate, as per my understanding, because my understanding is different from all of this understanding, as we are a unique person in this world. So, what I conclude from my side, what after listening to him is exposure is important. That is the reason we were talking about so much stories, and all these stories are becoming a venture and initiating a product or service. So exposure is important, and exposures are source of innovation, and these innovations are going to bring the change. But what we have to ensure through our adaptability is these changes must be sustainable. Change does not mean it's going to be positive always, right? And that is the reason we do not have only to focus on our primary target audience. So actually, in the present world, there is no concept, as per my understanding and my philosophical belief, that there is no as such concept, primary target audience. Sometimes the secondary target audience are important. Look at platform like First Cry, the primary target audience is a kid. But the decision making is the mother. So whom you want to target? It's actually you have to take this pair. It's not like whatever mother wants the kid is going to wear or use. So there is no such distinction, and that is the reason. So I was talking about the stories where intervention is done with the kids, not with the farmers. Again, the intervention is done with the farmers along with the kids as well. Right. So this I conclude about his speech, and now let me invite the second speaker of the Mr. Kaushik, and again we will listen him for another 25 to 30 minutes, and after that the platform will be open for question and answer session. So please, Kaushik. Presentation. Good morning, everybody. I couldn't help noticing the previous session that some of you might have stayed late in the nights, and it was showing on your kind of ability to absorb what my previous speaker was sharing. So I would like you to pay attention, because I'm going to share something which is important, which you will eventually learn in 20-30 years, because that's the time you need in life to gather that kind of experience to make a meaningful analysis of your own personal and professional lives as agribusiness professionals. So I'm like one of you. I've done my post graduation from IRMA, and I was maybe more confused than you might be today, because you guys are living in internet age, you are living in non-internet age, and maybe we had very little understanding how things work. And now, through me, your initiative has brought you kind of a collective experience of not only my 25 years, but also what I've gathered from people around me, my colleagues, my superiors, my subordinates, and it's the summary of that learning which I'm sharing with you, which will make you to context your own understanding of your career lives and professional lives. So, the theme is very interesting. Inclusive growth for rural prosperity. It has got very, very loaded words: inclusive growth, rural, and prosperity. Each word has a very deep meaning, and unless we understand these words in the right context and reference, I think we can just glide over 2 days of this interaction session without taking much meaningful things away. So this is the starting point for any young graduate, whether it's a rural management or HR management or a normal business, anybody who is what I call big picture. And what happens that you spend a lifetime in actually starting to make sense about something called big picture. That's the most important thing, because we are always saddled with our day-to-day lives, everything which is a task at hand, something that we need to deliver this week, this month, this quarter, this financial year, our immediate financial goals, our immediate personal goals, गाड़ी लेनी है, घर लेना है, all those kind of things. But there are things which are much bigger than these small, ready here and now objectives. So I'm sure that as agribusiness management, that's the rural management, because I would not call it agribusiness management. That's not the right categorization for the purpose
for which this institute has been set up. It's the rural management. And this word rural management was coined by none other than our Dr. Verghese Kurian, the great guy, who found that IIM Ahmedabad is not doing a good job in creating managers for the society. He was one of the founder members of the IIM Ahmedabad. One of his own cousins was the founder director of IIM Ahmedabad, Mr. Mathai. And he was on the board, and he was not satisfied with the what we call the objective of that institute, that it is producing managers for private wealth. It is producing managers for capitalistic India. He decided to set up his own institute, which will create managers for non-capitalistic India, for rural India, which will manage the resources, which will optimize the resources of the people who cannot afford to pay high salaries coming out from those management institutes. And that's how the IRMA was founded. And I'm sure that I'm going to understand that XIM Rural Management Program is also kind of a sapling out of that tree, and this idea was rooted here because Eastern India also needed an institute of excellence where you can create graduates who will go and work for enterprises and organizations which are directly engaging with the rural population of India, which cannot afford to pay high salaries coming from those glittering MBA institutes. So, coming to this big picture, you have to contextualize these four words. First, you think deeply about what does it mean by inclusive, what does it mean by growth, because even cancer is a growth, but is it a desirable growth? Rural, you have to define what is rural, because today rural is not limited. Rural is basically hinterland. It's a popular thing. But today, even in urban and semi-urban areas, there is a huge population which are living near rural conditions. So that also somehow will qualify. Though there are urban problems, but a lot of them have similarity with the context of the rural India, hinterland India. And prosperity will come to the word prosperity. That what I understand in the word prosperity. And I assume that that's a broader sense of prosperity one should take an understanding of. So what are the mega trends to which, so you have your own understanding, grapple with these four words, but what I'm sharing you the mega trend that I've observed emerging over last 10 years, I would say 5 years, because now the technology is making the change uniform across the world. The change is no longer happening in US and Europe and gradually disseminating to the non-OECD countries. Thanks to internet, it is happening almost in a real-time context as the developed world. So the mega trends as the world of which India is part of which all of us are part of. So I have mentioned a few different mega trends, but this is not an exhaustive list, and you are free to add your own observations of the mega trends as you see. This is some of the my list because this is what influences the area of work that I engage with. So demographic is a big mega trend. You all know the numbers. Young population, some of the countries are losing their young population. So demographics is not specific to India, it is a universal word. Japan has already aged, China is aging, US is also aging, and they are trying to substitute their population with immigration. Europe is aging, they are bringing in immigration. So demographics is a much larger mega trend. It has its own implications in all dimensions. Gender ratio is a working population is a big mega trend for India. I'm sure this is true for some of the other nations also. So what do you understand with gender ratio in working population? Any attempts? I would like to keep it interactive so that some of you may not doze off. So any answers? What is the meaning of gender ratio in working population? Why it is a mega trend? No attempts. Surprising. Yeah, please. Yeah, please speak. I can hear you.
When we talk about gender ratio, it mainly refers to number of men to women in the particular working population. Because we are a patriarchal society from the beginning, we can see that there is a trend that there in certain professions there are more men than women, and in certain professions like education or in nursing, there are more women than men.
Okay, got it. So I think that's summary. Is that this all? I mean, I'm from PRN 94-96, and in my batch there were around 7 or 8 girls. There and it was, we are a batch of 55, so I think the gender ratio in my batch was around 12-13%. Here I see a healthy ratio of around 25-30%, maybe more. I may not have counted it properly. But the point I am making here is that in the modern societies where you are having at max 2 children, but predominantly 1 children, in urban setup, it's very difficult to raise and educate well more than 2 children. It's difficult in the current inflationary environment, and where the cost pressures on services is increasing every day. So most of the urban couples are now graduating towards at max 1 child, and if that child happens to be a girl, she will get all the attention and resources and focus as in my generation boy used to get. So what is happening is that it is a force which cannot be reversed. It's a mega trend, and eventually today, when India today stands at around 10 to 11% gender ratio in working population, 10 to 11%. I'm talking about gross. Some industries may have different number. I'm talking at a gross number or the officially published number of all the formal employment. This number in ASEAN countries is 52%. 52% women, 48% men. So that's what. So when you say gender ratio means women to men, not men to women. Gender ratio is always women to men. So the world is, I mean, most of the developing or near developed countries are have moved or moving towards a parity of the population ratio in the working population also. It's a mega trend, it cannot be reversed, and it has its own implications. What implication it has? Its implication is on the food processing industry. In ASEAN countries, 94% of agricultural produce is consumed in a processed form, not raw. Today, those who have come from middle class families, you would not remember having more than 5 or 6 or 7 meals in a month. We consume normally 90 meals in a month, each individual. I'm not including snacking in that. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, 90 meals, remove snacking. And out of 90 meals, I don't remember consuming in my young age more than 7, 8, 9 meals outside home. 80 to 85 meals in a month used to be home cooked. Today, in gender ratio of 50-50, it's impossible to conceive that the families will consume anything more than 10% of the meals home cooked. It has to come from outside. It has to come from healthy, nutritious, sustainable, whatever numbers you can name, you can put it from those kind of food chains. Look at ASEAN countries. It's a massive food processing, and obviously those when you are serving to the educated, informed consumer, it has its own attendant obligation in terms of what kind of supply chains will deliver those 90 meals a month to your dining table, bypassing kitchen. So that's a mega trend. Climate change. Now, climate change is for real. 250 years back, we were at 228 parts per million carbon dioxide. Today, we are at around 426. So, climate change is very simple in numerical terms. Mere doubling of the carbon dioxide concentration in atmosphere. The carbon dioxide itself is a very minuscule composition of your global, your planetary gas composition. But doubling of that number is creating a heat entrapment effect. You can read on Google what is heat entrapment, how much energy sun sends to planet Earth, how much is reflected back, how much is absorbed, what is the mechanism of converting into greenhouse, and all those things. So there's a whole science behind it. So doubling of carbon dioxide and none of us can reverse it in any short span of time. And that's what we are now seeing, massive climate change. What is a climate change in, again, statistical terms? The frequency of extreme events. What used to happen 1, 2, 3 events in a year, now the frequency of extreme events have gone to 50, 20, 30 in a year. That's what we call climate change. So the frequency of extreme events directly linked to the carbon dioxide concentration moving from 228 to 425, not reversible, not in my lifetime, guaranteed. Land fragmentation and change of land use. So I'm just putting these things so that you can contextualize your understanding that what world we are part of. Now, India has approximately 14.1 crore, 141 million hectares of net sold land. If you gross it, because some of it is irrigated, which gets cropped twice, it comes to around 19.1 crore, like 191. So gross crop, net crop is 14.1. How many farmers are tilling this 141 million hectares? How many people know that? Your agriculture management graduates likely to be. Any number? How many farmers? No answer. That's the problem. That we do not look at big picture. We are all talking about rural management, but we need to look at what is the big picture. So the big picture is how much arable land we have. How many people are depending on this? 14.7 crore farmers are the owners of 14.1 crore net crop land. Out of this 14.7 crore farmers, 76 lakh farmers own 30% of 14.1 crore. So, which is close to around 4 crore plus. 14 करोड़ में से 4 करोड़ केवल 76 लाख फार्मर के पास है। 1470 में से 1472 में से 76 निकाल दो तो बचेगा 1395। So 13.5 crore farmers own less than 10 crore hectares, around 70% of the net crop land, which is 0.8 or 0.75 hectare per farmer. But that's a reality. And this 14.7 crore farmers used to be 12.4 crore farmers in the previous land survey, previous listed. So the number of farmers are increasing. It has increased by more than a crore, but land is same. Not actually same. It has, again, every year you take large amount of land for non-agricultural use, NA as we call it, either for urbanization or for industrialization or for anything, or for infrastructure, roads, ports, everything requires land which comes from this arable land. So we are losing the arable land every year. They're increasing the number of farmers who are dependent on this land, and the fragmentation is happening. And the change of land use is also irreversible, because if India is going to become a 1.5 billion population and growing at the rate of 1.7, 1.8, 2.1%. So you can think about the urban infrastructure, the attendant infrastructure that would be needed, and the land for that will come from this arable land. There's immense pressure, and that's a mega trend. You can't reverse it. Food for fuel. That's the latest problem on the plate of an agriculture professional. How many of you know this food for fuel? I'm students, you may know, ma'am. The food for fuel is a reality, and all of you should know that it's a mega trend which cannot reverse. You're using land to produce agriculture, produce biomass to convert that into your locomotion fuel. Whether it is cane ethanol, or it is grain ethanol, or it is palm biodiesel, or any edible oil converted to biodiesel, that's a reality. Because the fossil fuel has a limitation. Fossil fuel, after the GFC, global financial crisis, the big banks, the big institutions stopped funding new discoveries of fossil oil. And most of the countries who had big production of biomass, particularly edible oil, whether it was palm oil or it was seed oil, and some of the countries which were producing large amount of sugar cane, which is sugar basically, and other grains like maize and all, they started diverting their crops to conversion into ethanol. And that's the food for fuel. So when you have a state-supported food for fuel policy, it will change land use. I can guarantee you over next 5 years, because this government has given an obligation, they already declared that we have a E20 blending, E20B as we call it. 20% of the fuel will come from various kinds of ethanols. The total requirement at E20B at today's consumption is 1,000 crore liters a day. That is a requirement. From cane, you can get around 620, 630 crore liter. The remaining 370, 380 crore liter will come from grain ethanol. Because sugarcane has a limit. Sugarcane cannot grow outside UP, some portions of Karnataka, some portions of Maharashtra. And everybody with this policy, wherever there is water availability, you will see more and more sugar units coming, because it's guaranteed. Now the ethanol prices are given between a band of 62 rupees a liter to 66 rupees a liter, depending on what is the feed, and that will influence the land use change, because farmer is guaranteed that unit in his area will pick up what is producing. So that's a food for fuel. It's a mega trend, cannot be reversed. Consumer choices led agri-production systems. He's talked about consumer choices. Consumer choices are for various things. People who become rich, they want more proteins, they want higher quality carbohydrates. For example, millet, we are not talking about. What is millet? Millet is nothing but a grain where the carbohydrate to fiber ratio is less than 9, ideally. There are 3 types of grains: positive, neutral, negative. Neutral grains are those who have got carbohydrate to fiber ratio in excess of 100. Only 2 grains qualify for that: wheat and rice. Wheat has got 270 to 280 carbohydrate to fiber ratio. Rice has got 350 carbohydrate to fiber ratio. There are only 5 grains which are below 9, and those are called what Mr. Modi has declared it Shriyan. So Shriyan is applicable only for 5 grains, which has got a lower than 9 carbohydrate to fiber ratio. Now everybody knows about it. It's on Google. People will want more of Shriyan because this productivity is so low, but people will be willing to pay price. I buy a Shriyan at a price of 160 rupees a kg. So now more and more farmers will shift, and because its productivity is low, large areas will shift towards that wherever it can. So this is a mega trend. All kind of things. For example, your poultry, your meat, your sweet water, fishes, everything will change the production systems in terms of how they are designed and delivered. Income-linked food choices. I talked about it. Food is medicine. Like millet is one. There's a lot of foods. We're talking about food as medicine. Aloe vera, then your moringa. So there are so many things which have become now part of popular parlance, and a lot of people are now focusing, providing those food as medicine kind of a thing. Lifestyle diseases, that is also driving a lot of irreversible. Diabetes and blood pressure is an irreversible thing. It has now been accepted that this is a pandemic, the world has to deal with it, and this will influence what kind of foods the agriculture production system and the marketing system will produce, because in another 4 or 5 years you will have watches which will track your insulin levels 24/7. So that watch will tell you what you can eat or what you cannot eat, because you will have those technologies partners who will monitor your blood sugar 24/7. Today that glucometer, that monitoring instrument is a kind of a unwieldy one to carry around, but in 4 or 5 years time you will have sensors which will track the glucose measurement on your skin, the way Apple watches do the Omicron watches do for your blood pressure. Very soon you will have extremely capable sensors which can track your lifestyle parameters, which actually indicate towards any lifestyle diseases. So these are the mega trends. The idea is that unless you are aware of these mega trends, you cannot contextualize what you know or you don't know, or how inadequate you are knowing. So what are my preferred tools because we are dealing with these mega trends in our day-to-day business? So there are 5 other things I mentioned. You can add your own preferred tools. One, I call it insight pyramid. Today, all of you you're living in information world. We're living in, now Google is fussy. The next thing is ChatGPT. The large language models, and they are improving every day. So the insight pyramid, as we call it, information, data, knowledge, insight. So right now, your curriculum is just teaching you is information. I don't know how many of you gone to the next level, that validating that information using data, and then convert that information plus data into a solid knowledge. But that knowledge is also insufficient unless it becomes an actionable insight. Because you may have the first 3, but unless you have genuinely contextualized your information, data, knowledge in the mega trend, then only you will be able to have an actionable insight. That's a preferred tool, and that's what every professional must strive to build this pyramid and perfect it over a period of time. The second concept that I use is called high fidelity. How many of you know this word high fidelity? Anybody from electronics background in this batch? Any electronics engineer? No one. So what is high fidelity, gentlemen? Where have you heard this word high fidelity? Have you heard this word high fidelity? No. How many of you have bought a music system? How many of you have bought a music system, that old style big speakers? You bought. Any numerical parameter that came to your notice when you bought that? Yeah, please. It's okay, speak loudly.
Good morning, sir. My name is Abhivyakti'23. High fidelity is basically low latency in terms of sequence.
So when you buy, you go to a music system showroom, and you have got those PMPOs, 200 watt PMPO, 500 watt PMPO, 1000 watt PMPO. That's what they market their products for 5000 PMPO. Has it ever occurred to you that what is the difference between a 200 watt PMPO and a 5000 PMPO? Has it occurred to you? Because both instruments may probably sit in the same room and play at the same decibel level. Then what is the difference between a 200 watt and a 5000 watt? And that is the phrase called high fidelity. So both the instruments will actually play at the same decibel level, 50, 60, whatever you call it, and they will actually be consuming only 18 watt or 20 watt of power. But a 5000 PMPO means the components of that instrument are designed with such precision and effectiveness that there would be zero distortion at 20 watt usage. Whereas a 200 watt PMPO will, the moment you take it to 70 decibel, you will start hearing distortion in voice, distortion in sound. There would be some, what you call, the system noise will come in. That is what I call every individual has to keep on working to improve his high fidelity, that reach a level where your maximum capability will never be put to use, but you don't deliver any noise when you're operating at the required decibel in any organization you are part of. So high fidelity for me is the most important attribute in a manager. Is he a high fidelity manager? Means he knows a lot, so he will, even if I give him a small thing, he will do it without any glitches or noise. The third thing is very important for any professional to choose, is that where to play and how to win. You must know your inner call, that which sector you want to. I've given you so many mega trends, you know your agri landscape well. So where you want to play, how to win, also it has to be a decision based on your embedded life choices. Everybody else has got, we have our learned Professor Nechal, which can give you a few more detailed perspective on what is called an embedded life choice. All of us are driven by our embedded life choices. Somebody wants to become Shah Rukh Khan, somebody wants to become Virat Kohli. That's an embedded life choice. So our decisions in career and lives are driven by our embedded life choices, which we may not speak, but we have to be aware of that. And finally, all path converges to the same end objective. That's the final thing. So whatever you may choose to do it, if you follow the first four principles genuinely, contextualize with the mega trends, try to strive for high fidelity, you will become valuable for society, community, and for yourself. And you will be happy with what you have done in life. So that's a big picture. The first slide, I think I've taken reasonable time. So the rest I will have to glide through. Now coming to your theme of the session today, define rural prosperity. Did it occur to you how to define rural prosperity? Or you only measure in terms of the money in the bank? Is that the only thing? Prosperity is a very, because I would use the Hindi shabd for prosperity is called Vaibhav. And we have got 8 Lakshmi hamare Indian mythology mein we have defined 8 Lakshmi. Usme Swasth Lakshmi hai, Dhan Lakshmi, Ann Lakshmi hai. So it's prosperity. The Vaibhav is of all hues and colors. It's not monochromatic. It's polychromatic. There's all kinds of colors within the concept of prosperity. Now, living in community, there are 3 broad verticals, three broad components in which we can look at it: social, environmental, and economical. And these 3 will eventually get distributed in those Ashtalakshmi concept of prosperity. Coming to social, and this is important for you as rural professionals because there are career choices one can make in each component of these wealth divisions. Health. Health is the biggest wealth. I mean, we have been reading ad nauseum on multiple things that health is the biggest wealth, and you realize it when you reach my age of 50, 55. And if you are not able to climb 4 stories, you are not rich, you are poor. As simple as that. Education. Access to living essentials. Clean water, clean air, access to basic human infrastructure, no stinking drains around. That's access to living essentials. Delivery of state support. There is a huge population in any country where the social system, the government systems are designed to support and help them. Not everybody can be independent economically or functionally. So that is delivery of state support that Do we work for organizations which help delivery of state support to the end, the target beneficiaries? And recourse to remedy. Howsoever perfect world we will make, there will always be some amount of kind of discriminations or injustices. So whether the society has enough mechanism for recourse to remedy, that's also a very important aspect of rural prosperity, or for that matter, social prosperity. Environmental, we talked about it, land productivity, soil health. We look at the carbon composition of India's people. I was in my previous organization, we were doing the soil testing for 6 states. And when I was looking at the results, I was absolutely sure that we are moving towards doomsday. We were doing soil health testing for Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and 2 more states. My organization was working for state governments, and we were horrified to see the soil testing results. Soil health cards, as you would know, and the results were horrible. So it was very clear that if we do not do something drastic about this, we will have a problem of feeding ourselves in a few years' time, because land would have lost its ability to produce. Climate change and attendant catastrophes. If you do not have the ability to manage catastrophes, climate change is a reality. But have we built our community where we can withstand the changes that is brought with the climate change, and can we address to the, for example, looking at the horrors of Himachal Pradesh. I don't know how many months or years that community will take to revive back, economically, socially, or in whichever way. And commons and private, that's very important. Environmental wealth, that today a lot of things that we take it, so we only bother about our private property, private assets. We are not bothered about commons. There's so much of commons around, like forests, grazing lands, the water bodies, and this. That's what I call the environmental prosperity or environmental wealth of a community lies in commons and not in private. So unless we, all of us collectively, start looking at commons as private, we will remain environmentally poor. Economically, you all understand you are product of the capitalistic system. So livelihood, agriculture and allied activities, production systems is part of the economical prosperity. It is cost, yield, market access, and economic profits. So that's a very small part. All of us spend all our lifetime in focusing on the economic profits, only 2 words, and not looking enough on the cost, yields, and market access. These are also part of the economical wealth. So I've already shared this with you. I just would like you to draw your attention that why agriculture systems Indian agriculture system is so poorly equipped today. The reason lies in, can you see that GCF? If you look at the GCF, share of GCF in agri and allied sector in GV of economic constant prices, the 3rd row. Any economist in this batch? Anybody who has done graduation in economics before coming here? No one. People want to keep silent. Okay, no worries. So GCF is gross capital formation. The future of any system to make profitable or to make sustainable economic outcomes is how much capital is getting formed in the system. That's called gross capital formation. And GVA is gross value added. So let's say you make 10 rupees of GVA, how much of it gets converted into a retained productive capability which will produce economic outcomes in future years. So if you look at the GCF in agriculture, it's nearly 2.4%. Now, if you see that the share of agriculture and allied sector in total GDP at current prices is 17%. So the total in the GDP, when we measure GDP, we measure the second component of GDP is GVA. So 17% and how much population is dependent on it? The 17% is 50%. So a country with 1.4, 1.5 billion, where 50% population is dependent only on 17% of its economy. I mean, what I'm talking about when we talk about rural prosperity, it's a chimera, it's a mirage. Unless there is a sufficient effort at individual, organizational, institutional, and government level, these numbers are not going to change because these numbers were marginally lower when I started my career in 1996. Marginally lower. They have come up, but the change is nothing material to be happy about. So this is the important thing, that whichever career or organization, you have to be aware of what is the GVA of your organization, big picture, your organization, what is the capital formation that you are helping your community to make, which will, because that when you have GCF, it influences the social wealth, it influences the environmental wealth, it influences the economic wealth. All three components will come from GCF. If you have got investments, you will use resources productively. You will not create wastages. Now, Professor, you will have to allow me some time, because I hope, how much time you please block me if I'm clearly overstepping the. Sure, thanks. So, if you, this is the big picture for me of the Indian agriculture. In my opinion, the Indian agriculture is essentially an agreement between God, government, and farmer. It's a triangle. The three stakeholders in the agriculture system, and what we call farmer is Annadata. And I've mentioned that 50% population, 13%. And now what is happening over the last 30, 40 years, that this agriculture has started moving from subsistence to commerce. All the policies of initial 10, 20, 30 years were designed because our focus was to become self-reliant on food production for the burgeoning population of India. So it was a subsistence modeled agricultural policy regime. And now what is happening is that thanks to internet, thanks to next generation, the young farmers who are deciding to go back, and there's an adjacency effect when there are some centers of excellence. So it has started moving from subsistence to commerce, and that's a big change. It's a big change. So the mega trend that agriculture will no longer be a subsistence farming, but again, it will be again in the context of the fragmented landholding, and it is graduated from shortage management to surplus management. There's a lot of, I will come to that surplus concept later on. So now we are talking about not the deficit management, we are talking about self-sufficiency, food security, and nutrition has also become part of the parlance. Now, the current government has put enough emphasis on bringing nutrition in their most of the policy pronouncements about when they are talking about food. So security is no longer the only objective. It is the sufficiency is gone long back. We are self-sufficient in many things. Security was provided constitutional backup, and now we are talking about nutrition. Whether it is milk, whether it is dairy, or it is millets, or it is poultry, fishery, everything we are talking about now nutrition. So this is an agreement between. So now, if any of the three guys, for example, farmer is a taker. If either government doesn't support or collaborate, or God is not happy with this climate, we suffer. We suffer suboptimally. Now, this is, if you look at it, some numbers, because again, a big picture, you need to know that where we stand. Now, if you look at it, that this is a number dominating in the time series of 1920. The agricultural production in India from in last 15 years has grown at a mere 2.1% rate. So it is not even at par with the population growth rate of this 15 years. 2005-6, we are producing 522 million, now we are producing 700 million, and 2.1% CAGR. Why? Because there is so much of focus on the food security. Government policies were focused towards creating a carbohydrate sufficiency in the form of rice and wheat. Whereas the sectors where there was no government intervention, no MSP, horticulture, there we could achieve in the same period of 4.1%. So this was led by market choices. This was led by changing lifestyles, changing affordability. So horticulture grew at a rate of 4.1%. And now where we have reached approximately 320 million ton. And if you, this is 2020, if you look at 2023 data, horticulture production is in excess of the row crop. India has got only 3 biomass. Row crops, which contains your grains, cereals, pulses, edible oil seeds, fiber, spices, all of these things we call row crops, which are grown periodically, seasonally, and stored. And the second crop is sugarcane. We produce close to around 350 million to 360 million tons of sugarcane. And the third biomass is fruits and vegetables, around 356. So we produce 1 billion tons of biomass in a 14.1. So it's one of the poorest biomass production per hectare. If you look at that way, look at other productive countries, what biomass those geographies are producing per hectare and per liter of water. Globally, the productivity is measured biomass per unit of land and per unit of water. Australia, nobody will tell you how much they are producing per unit of land. They will talk about how much they are producing per decaliter of water. So that's we are because it's an abundance. We are not obvious. We are oblivious to its productivity numbers. I'll not get into this, shortage of time. So there are a few good things. I just mentioned this, the presentation will stay with you. You can share it later. So robust demand, good prospects, government support, and competitive advantage. If you look at what is the biggest competitive advantage, but we have not harnessed it, India receives close to around 98, 99 centimeters of rain, only 100 centimeters of rain in approximately 265 million hectares of land. India total has around 265 million hectares. So this is the largest receipt of natural rainwater, which is distilled water, so to say, but we are not harnessing it well. So in terms of the availability of water per unit of land is the best in the world, but our management is poor, and that's something which it will take huge amount of money to address, and I have mentioned somewhere in the next later slide that how much money is needed to change this. Now coming to what is the success template of any agricultural initiative. So if you look at the last 50, 60, 70 years, there are only 3 successful models that emerge. And the first one was Green Revolution, which we achieved food sufficiency. It was the 3 component, the triad of success in agriculture is productivity, aggregation, and distribution. If any of the legs are missing, it cannot create a success story. And the examples are, these 3 examples will demonstrate you amply that why these 3 triads work well to make us self-reliant in food, self-reliant in dairy, and where we failed in and self-reliant in horticulture now. So in Green Revolution, government brought Green Revolution. They created 2 organizations. One was PDS, Product Distribution System, ration shops, and the second one was FCI, which is aggregation. So when you created the triad, it became a successful self-reliant model of food sufficiency. White Revolution, all of us you know, Dr. Kurian created primary collection centers, helped the dairy farmers improving their the breed by bringing in Holstein and Jersey, the breed source, and created a production increase in Gujarat, supported by milk unions for collection, and a distribution agency called GCMMF. That's again a successful model. The third one, where he almost succeeded in operation, we call it Operation Golden Flow in edible oil seed, but something happened in Indonesia, Malaysia, and the edible oil prices collapsed because the productivity went up drastically higher in Indonesia, Malaysia. It changed the entire, because the oil consumption shifted from seed oil to fruit oil or palm oil because of the productivity change in Indonesia, Malaysia. That's why Dr. Kurian did not get as much success as in White Revolution, but nonetheless, we reached somewhere, and today we have around 20-30% of our own production. We were much poorer before the beginning of the, because that also is supported by similar structure. And the latest one is what we call Golden Revolution, started in 91, and is doing successful is horticulture. A few things government did: it removed the intermediaries, no mandi is required. It removed mandi cess, no mandi is required in horticulture, and it is the fruits and vegetables can move pan India without any hindrance. So these are the free access to market, burgeoning demand, removal of any government intervention. The sector grew at a 4.1% rate, which is twice of the population growth rate of the same period. I will not dwell on this. You all know that fragmented holdings, monsoon dependence, land is a national. Okay, this is only one point in this, that though policy puts agriculture in the state subject, but land is a national resource. Unless there is some sort of, like for example, GST, one nation, one tax. Why can't the policy making on agriculture be one nation, one policy? Every state looks at agriculture in their own way, and we are suboptimally using this precious resource. And that's a debate which is happening, but again, it will impinge upon the federal structure of the constitution. It will require massive, so right now the political atmosphere is not conducive. But I think it's imperative to look at why for example, when we use spectrum as a national resource, when we use water as a national resource, obviously there are state rights, state riparian rights, but it's time to look at land also as a national resource, because there is a lot of wastage and slippages in this concurrent list status of agriculture, which is some things are in concurrent, some things are in state, and a few things are in centralist. So that is where it is an important challenge. Okay, so this is, I'll skip this. Okay, this is, you can look at it later, that what a successful reform did to Indian economy and missed agriculture. If you look at the 1991, 1992 flagship reforms, they touched every sector, but because agriculture was politically sensitive, they didn't touch it. If they would have included agriculture in 1992, we would have been a different agriculture economy now. The way today we are, our software export is more than our gems and jewelry or textile export. We are at $300 billion plus export. So India has only two surpluses which has to be. One surplus is demographics, which through education can become exportable. And so $300 billion is coming from software services, which is nothing but a demographic dividend. And the second component is $100 billion of remittance, which is also demographic dividend. This large population, trained, educated properly, trained in Western Catholic values, easily amenable and malleable in the developed world OECD countries. They go there, they work, and they set $100 billion a year. So this $400 billion we have been able to generate from demographic dividend, locally and through remittances. The second surplus in India has, if used positively, I'll come to that in some of the second slide, that it can easily generate an equivalent amount of surplus, which is if you use the agricultural land properly. And I'll share with you in the next slide that how much it can generate. So you can go through that. It created so many things for every sector, but didn't offer anything to agriculture. And it's time to have those kind of reforms. So this government started with good thinking about doubling the farmer income, promote one nation, one market concept, attract private investment. As I talked about, no industry can grow without private investment. And private investment happened in software industry because it had tax holiday. Why can't agriculture processing become be tax free for 10 years, 20 years, where supply chains can come up and create similar capabilities as India has done in the form of Infosys and TCS and all that. We can have Infosys and TCS in agriculture processing also, but it's a matter of decision making. So all these things they thought, then they brought in the bills which are rescinded now. So that was the idea, that what was left untouched into the 1992, it can be addressed again. So this is an important slide which I would like you to note. Is that this is the is it visible to everybody? Is it visible? If you see that, if you read each column, so these are the commodities that India is growing. The first column is commodity. The second column is best yield in world kilogram per hectare. Take the second column. So if you do the second column, best yield in world, the third column is global average yield of that commodity. The fourth column is Indian average yield in that commodity, kilogram per hectare. Indian acreage in million hectare in that commodity. Next column. Current Indian output in million metric ton. Next column. Potential at world average in million metric ton. Potential at world best in million metric ton. Average Indian consumption in million metric ton. Current surplus in million metric ton. Surplus at world average and surplus at world best. So if you look at this table, it will give you an idea that if India achieves even the global average in some of the commodities, the amount of surplus that it will generate will give us something like this. This is the, if you look at it, again same thing, the global trade in this commodities. What is the global trade? There is export or import from the exporting nation to importing nation. What is India's contribution in global trade? In each of the commodities, for example, rice is 41 is a global trade. India is doing 10 million. This is old data. This year we did 22 million. So likewise, the percentage share is hardly any 0%, 24%. Now, if we achieve the global averages, we will actually take over the global trade in every commodity. That's the point I'm trying to make here. You don't have to be global best. Merely reaching global average will bring us $500 to $600 billion in the trade flows, only by reaching global average. And we can command the global trade easily like we're doing. India has achieved 40% market share in rice trade. And the moment the government of India stopped rice export this year, prices rallied by 25 to 35% depending on the variety. So this is the final slide. If you make investments, we can easily become friends with China, because China is importing 99 million tons of soybean, 7 million tons of corn, 4 million tons. All this put together is exactly equal to the trade deficit that India runs with China. India has got an $85 billion of trade deficit today. If we give what China buys from Argentina and US, if we reach global productivity levels, we can supply everything through trades to China. It will sort out our labor, the border issues, and it will help us with $85 billion of trade deficit, and it can actually make big impact on the Indian currency and everything. Growth drivers, I'll not come to it, I'm reaching the last 2-3 minutes slide, but an important insight that I want to leave you with in the final. These are the growth drivers. You can go through it. You have read it many times. You can read again by sharing this. This is an important. Okay. Sorry, I jumped to the slide. This is a question I want to ask. Which is the best performing asset in the United States in last 50 years? Best performing asset, investment asset. Any answers? Sir, we have got a professor in finance also. Any ideas there? Huh? No. Any other attempts? Huh? No. The best performing asset in America in 50 years, mind you, 50 years not a small period of time, is agriculture land. Look at this. You see that US farmland has given up 12% CAGR, higher than US equity, higher than US bonds, higher than everything. And then the x-axis is the volatility, y-axis is the return, CAGR, it's a CAGR return. And you know why? If you do all that, this value generation comes from the productivity enhancement. It's not a speculative gain. If you increase the productivity of land, it will reflect in the land prices of agriculture production system, and that is what I call rural prosperity. So if really somebody wants to be rural prosperity, invest in productivity, gain market share in the global trade, and make the values of rural agriculture land go up because of its productive value, not because of change of land use like Gurgaon and Pune, because it is productive. So the best performing with least standard deviation is US average farm, 10.23 average annual return, 1972 to 2016. So that is what I call would be true rural prosperity, social, economical, environmental, if production systems are geared to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your nice presentation. As a faculty of organizational behavior, I can see the passion with which you have spoken, and it really gives an idea that these are the words coming from your heart and not just mere words on the slides. So, we will start a question and answer session in a minute or two, but before going to the question and answer session, let me tell me my learning what I have seen. So what I have concluded here after listening the presentation. So we're talking about some mega trends, and these mega trends are not worrying mega trends because India has a huge potential. So we are far below the global trend, global average. But look at India, the bright side. We are still, after being far below the global average, we are exporting. I'm not saying exporting everything as far as agriculture is concerned, but still we are exporting. We are self-sufficient, at least as far as food grains are concerned. Our government is providing food for at least what government claims, and that's true as well, 80 crore people. So, and sir has already told you that the moment we are reaching to reaching to the glow leverage, my concern is very different. Where we are going to store it. So do we really need to achieve the glow leverage? Right? Is there something we should bother about? And that's what the first speaker was talking about. The sustainability is important. So this is what my take, and we will start the question and answer session. After that, we will have a final conclusion of the entire discussion. So you, before asking the question, you introduce yourself, and if the question is specific to the speaker, ask the specific question, and that inform at the beginning itself, so that the speaker will listen you more carefully. And if your question is targeted to both of the speaker, just tell that as well at the beginning itself, before you start the question, right? So inform about yourself. Tell to the speaker who is you expect the primary respondent. Both of them can respond. That's entirely their choice. But if you have a specific question to a specific speaker, just specify that and then ask the question. So now we will start the question session.
Hello everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Myself Chaitanya from first year batch. So my question is to Mr. Gupta, sir. Sir, can you tell us about the challenges faced in the logistic part for procuring the tea leaves or even for the movement of the produce, considering the sustainable part?
So considering the challenges for procuring our teas, one of the first thing that comes to any agricultural produce is the humidity part, right? Tea has to be packed in a very such kind of a format where the humidity doesn't come there, otherwise they will get destroyed. So this is something which we take care of while sourcing the teas as well from Darjeeling or Siliguri. And this is something while keeping the teas packed in our warehouse. And if we do not take care of such things within the warehouse, like conditions like if AC is being turned on for a very longer period of time, these teas get destroyed. So in terms of procurement and storing, we take care of these two things, and this is one of the primary challenge. This is relevant to tea, coffee, and most of these things.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name is Amar Abbas from MBR first year. My question is for Shivendra, sir. So I was going through the article where I got to know that many of the consumer electronics companies are jumping towards WhatsApp e-commerce, which has helped them in creating a loyal customer base. So the same trend will be seen in the tea industry, since it gives a good scope of creating a loyal base for startups.
Yeah, so WhatsApp e-commerce is something which is not just limited to tea industry, but all of the e-commerce brands. You might have seen that WhatsApp ordering has come up recently. There is WhatsApp for personal use, and there is WhatsApp for business use, the app you get in the Play Store. Then there is Baba, that WhatsApp business automation. That is the third part, that is for industrial use. So here you have a multi-user access for the organizational users, and like it helps us build more trust with customers. Customers can reply with a hi, and they get an automated kind of a reply wherein they can choose options and they can even place order from there. For e-commerce brand, it helps us to reach out to customers again for abundant cart recovery. Abundant cart recovery is something you add something to your cart, okay, and then you forget, or if you are not getting a proper discount, you leave to check out. You do not make the purchase. Then after a certain amount of time, we have certain automation, and most of other brands do as well. And automated message goes to the user's WhatsApp, and that can be defined if you want to offer some upfront discount as well to make the user convert into a customer. So WhatsApp is a very primary thing, and coming up with channels recently, like couple of days back, they launched channels as well, wherein if you want to reach out to more number of customers, you can directly reach out to them if they follow you as a brand. So WhatsApp commerce is something which is gaining momentum, and it's not just limited to tea, but for all the e-commerce brands as well.
So,
Good morning, sir. My name is Chanika. I am a first year student. So my question is to Anupam, sir. So you mentioned about Asian countries multiple times. You mentioned they have 94% of their food intake as processed food. So India has at this policy to improve the trade between India and the ASEAN countries. So I wanted to know if there are any current trends in their in food intake system that we can learn from that could improve the trade between India and the ASEAN countries, considering the requirement and availability in each other's systems.
So, the biggest export out of ASEAN countries, India produces basically the meat. Meat is one of their biggest things, and there are large collaborations happening in the meat processing between some of the large processors of ASEAN country-based processors and Indian meat processors. So that is one. It includes the seafood also. The horticulture is also an area where ASEAN countries can teach us, but right now we have not reached the threshold of the what you call price competitiveness, because even today our next door sabjiwala is more competitive than industrially processed agriculture. But I think the time will come when that the round the corner sabjiwala will vanish, and people would want industrially packaged and sorted vegetables. So that is where they have got a global expertise in processing of fruits and vegetables. They are very big in processing the packaged food. There's stacking and packaged food. We have already made decent progress. We already acquired a lot of know-how from some of the ASEAN countries. So I think the meat will remain, but right now meat is not a very politically comfortable topic. Maybe things will change in times to come, where animal husbandry is looked at in its entirety, where the milch animal after its productive life is no longer considered as a social obligation and looked at for its economic value. So then possibly it can make some progress. But yes, that's an area where collaboration is happening between ASEAN versus India.
Good morning, sir. My name is Shivam Tiger from first year batch. My question to Anupam sir is, sir, what are the strategies you have in place to deal with the changing market prices of agricultural commodities, and how do you manage that risk, keeping in the mind that you have to provide justice to the farmers in terms of prices that are offered to them for their commodities?
So we are not a B2C company. We are a B2B supply chain companies. We collect commodities, or we take commodities from farmers at market discovered prices. What you say about fair prices to farmer is applicable where you build a supply chain from B2C, from farm to fork. There, a partnership supply chain makes a bigger sense. Somebody like a Tata Consumer, somebody like Hindustan Lever, or Reliance Retail, somebody who has built a supply chain end to end. There, I would say, because they are able to get a visibility of the wallet share of the consumer, and they can create equitable systems in sharing those wallet share with the production system and help them in improving their production capabilities also. So your question is relevant for B2C chains and not for B2B chains, because B2B chains take the prices as discovered and they do not influence the discovery of prices, because that is decided at the consumer end, which do not have exposure to B2B companies like we are.
Good morning, everyone. So, I'm Santanika, and I had a question to you regarding nutrition. As you say, it's a growing concern. But at the same time, we see in India there's a growing neglections from the side of farmers that do not want to go for organic farming. So, what can we do in this situation?
See, organic farming is a very contentious topic. We have gone deep into organic farming and we realize that a genuine, please allow me to excuse me for saying this, but India's organic validation systems are completely broken. And I don't know whether you have kept track of it. Many countries have actually cancelled the organic produce coming out of India because those certifications were suspect. Lot of certification and validation agencies, the certification capabilities were cancelled. The reason is that, sorry to say that we decided to appropriate the profit behind organic branding and we threw every discretion to the wind while administrating those standards to the supply chain. So, if you ask me, is Indian organic organic? I don't think I'll be able to answer you yes. So organic is basically somehow arranged certification because the regulation or its adherence is so lax that anybody and anything can pass through without the thorough, I would say, validation. So Indian farmer, if you go into the industry, you will know that farmers who are declared organic, they don't even know that they are declared as organic because somebody who is managing their network is declaring on their behalf by managing the certification process. So this, I would not spend too much focus and attention and energy in organic because it's a very small, minuscule, and nutrition has nothing to do with organic. So first, let's get that thing out of our head that organic is nutritious. It's not, because the organic will be deprived of so many essentials. It's about prudent farming practices where unnecessary or not required chemicals do not get into even in inorganic farming. You can do extremely nutrition focused farming using completely inorganic means. Inorganic doesn't mean poisonous. Inorganic, so it's what people have started confusing, that using chemicals which are banned in developed countries and throwing maybe with the bath water. So clubbing everything which is inorganic as harmful or poisonous, which is not. Globally also, nobody in the biggest producers of the world, whether it's Argentina or Brazil or Australia or United States or South Africa, they're not doing organic farming. They are doing responsible farming by looking at the chemicals which are not good for human hygiene and taking care of it doesn't get into the production system. So first, let's get our understanding right about these words. Organic has become fashion. Believe you me, it's a fad, because none of the claims that are being made by organic can actually be independently verified if you actually subject. I was running a chain of laboratories and I was a testing agency for a lot of these organic foods. And I lost business because I refused to issue a certificate without actually subjecting it to the chemical process. We started business. We are no longer doing the organic testing because we were not in the business of issuing certificates without being truthful about it. So it's a big fact. It will go away. I'll give you one number. The organic cotton certification, the prices of that reached 20 to 25,000 rupees per candy. Candy is a commercial unit. It has now collapsed to 3,000 and no takers. Why? Because the European consumer has understood that anything coming out of India as organic is basically a superstition.
Good morning, sir. My question is to Anupam, sir. As we know that recently it was in the news that UPL and Ola Macri had partnered to increase the sugarcane production of the farmers by 15%. So how do you plan to increase the production, especially during the time of water scarcity in India?
So our unit is in a very, I would say, naturally endowed geographical patch. We have got large, I would say, elevated landmass terrain, which is kind of, you can say, hillock. So we are going to do it through water management. We will be building a large water body. We will be doing rainwater harvesting, and we are already India's largest producer of bone sucrose. So bone sucrose sugar, the bone sucrose validation, it comes from international agency. You can do Google about what is bone sucrose. It's about healthy, sustainable practices in producing sugar. And to let you know that we don't have to sell our sugar after we produce this. All our sugar is sold. 85% of sugar is sold to Coke and Pepsi even before we do that, because they know that it meets the global sustainable practices. So we will increase 15% by bringing in more farmers, doing better water management, using those elevated land around our unit, and continuing with our bone sugar practices. So because we are expanding capacity in our that sugar unit. So expanded capacity would need more sugarcane in our area. We have got huge area where sugarcane is not grown. We will bring in those farmers and extend our existing bone sugar practices to those farmers.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rani Anjali. So my question is to Sivendra Gupta, sir. So as we know, you yourself started your venture at a very early age. So can you give us some insight about what strategies are effective in attracting youth to agribusiness and rural entrepreneurship, ensuring intergenerational prosperity?
So I started a venture after working for around 2 years at Ujima. The strategies are like, they are general things. If you want to be very truthful to your customers, like if you are, like we started serving tea. So we were not using premixes. We served it in the way the tea used to be in India, like prepare boiling in the traditional way. This is something which we highlighted as well. Some of our competitor brands do not do that as well. Okay. Coming to the snacking part, like we made sure that whatever ingredients that we are using are coming from renowned brands like Viva, Cremica or some other which are known in the industry in the food and beverage sector. So this is something which we have almost always taken care of, that even if in the starting the pricing has to be low to attract customers, but the product has to be top notch. This is something which we have always taken care of. Second thing is, initially I talk about 2017, 18, 19. We were working nearby a medical college and near an IIT Kanpur. So we had a store in between of these two institutes, and the footfall used to come from these two stores, two colleges itself. What we used to do was our staff was very known to customers who used to come frequently, right? So they used to ask, sir, aapki wali chai, in that way, like personalization kind of a thing. They used to start remembering customers. So the customers feel more loyal or connected to the brand they are going to. And then we thought instead of giving coupons, we started giving handwritten notes, which make them more loyal or more connected to the place they are going to. So it gave them a feeling of connectedness with Samocha. This is what we did earlier. And what we do today as well, if we get online orders, like 50% of our ordering is from online sources wherein we do not get any customer data. So sometimes every month for 2 or 3 days, we send 2 or 3 people from our team with delivery guys to meet out the customers. Like Zomato just gives us a number that this is the 62nd order of this customer. He is ordering for 62nd time, but the name is not visible, the mobile number is not visible. But we always have an option that if he is ordered for 60 times from us, we can go with the rider at the same address and have a thank you note. So these things always help us stay ahead, at least in the geographies where we operate.
Thank you, sir.
So we are running out of time, so not more than 2 questions. So second last question. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Praveen Pathak from MBA 2225. Sir, my question is for Anupam, sir. So when it comes to climatic fruits or horticultural products, sir, and or other adverse conditions, sir, what are the risk management strategies that is essential to mitigate the impact of such economic factors and on this agribusiness operations and profitability?
So there are no risk mitigation strategies for climate change events for any agriculture production system except insurance. So as we know, the frequency is increasing. Nobody can say can mitigate. Today, if at the at the time of full fruit load, if there is a climate event in Himachal, there's nothing apple producer can do anything about. Or for example, mandarins that are grown in Punjab, if there is a temperature drop around the fruiting time, there's nothing the farmer can do anything about. So only way is to have create the government enabled, because those insurance policies somebody has to write, there has to be equity. So globally, the horticulture operations, apart from having climate resilient strains, the only way you can do it climate resilient, but that also has got limitation. because today the frequency and the intensity of climate change event cannot be managed by using the climate resistant strains of that, because each strain takes like 7 8 years to become productive. So insurance is the only way where 1 year event can take care of the income loss, and for that India needs to develop in collaboration with the global insurance agent things that require regulatory reforms for doing those kind of big ticket insurance policies where farmers' income can be protected. Produce will not be protected in climate change event, but farmers' livelihood can be protected using those insurance policies. Else there is no safety, because we have seen ourselves, we are one of the largest almond orchard owners in Australia, and we have got coffee plantations and cocoa plantations. When a climate event happens, so an entire this year we took a huge hit in our almond crop in Australia. Gone, but eventually it will be covered through insurance, because that you have to factor into your cost production.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pratiksha Rao from Junior Batch. So my question is to Anupam sir. So could you elaborate on the specific agri-commodity products that Olam India processes and trades, and what makes them stand out in the market?
So there are multiple commodities that we do in India. We do rice, we do grains like maize and wheat, we do pulses, we do coffee, cocoa, almonds. We are the second largest producer of almonds in the world, and we are the largest importer of almonds in India. We have cashew, we have peanuts, and we have cotton. We are stand out in our rice because we are the largest exporter of rice from India. We were till last year, because this year now it has been banned, so we don't know how things are going to be shipped up. We are number 2 or number 3 in coffee, number 2 in cotton. So we are like, in these commodities we are occupying anywhere between number 1 to number 3.
So thank you. So thanks for the question and answer session and your initial speech. And let me conclude the session here. It's a really interesting session, and at least at personal level, I learned a lot. There are some few verification from the corporate, coming from the business world, what I teach. The problem with we faculty is whatever we teach, we cannot validate. So validation is coming from what these people from the corporate are coming and teaching, right? So let me just summarize the entire discussion. So I'm not specify who has talked about, but it's actually a conclusion of the entire session. So we look at there are certain changes happening at the world, and the bad thing from the faculty is whenever we see something and read something, we start classifying. So our job is sorting things from one basket to another. So I have sorted this, and this global, there are changes happening in the world, and these changes are happening at the individual level, at the country level, and at the global level. Like climate change, it's a global change. So something which is happening at in one country, and something which is happening in Africa is affecting us. At the global, so if the pollution is increasing in one particular country, you cannot say it's not affecting that country only; it's affecting them everywhere. Right? And then there are changes happening at the country level, the changes in the inflation rate, the Gini index, and all, and that is affecting every single person. And then finally, change at the individual level. We have seen the gender related changes. So I'll just tell a story. So I was talking, so I work in the areas also in women empowerment. So I was talking to people who were really interested in women empowerment and investing in the process in women empowerment. And they said, look, the problem of the country is in the rural world, women do not work. I said, yes. Is that the reality? Rural world, women do not work. This lady start her day at 3 o'clock morning, ends at 10 o'clock night, with the things keeping in mind that at 3 o'clock morning, she will have to wake up to take care of every single thing at the home, and then you say they are not working. So these are the changes now people are realizing. So another discussion I had, and these people say that look, we took girls from a really poor background and we trained them, and these girls skilled them, and these girls are earning 8 to 10,000 rupees in a month, and that is informant. I said, look, the damage done after taking this girl training and placing somewhere out of her hometown. Now, in that particular home, right, someone else is required to take care of whatever that girl was taking care of. Who is going to pay for that? Who is going to compensate for that? So if the job is of 8,000, right, you are not contributing anything. This girl will have to spend some money to live in that particular place. That is extra expense. So after that, the net saving for this girl is around 2,000. For a month, you are giving 2,000 actually, which is not even minimum wages. So things are changing and people are realizing this. People are realizing this. So that we have seen, and these challenges are, yes, there are challenges, but they are not worrisome because we have huge potential, as I have discussed, potential for agriculture. We have huge. My concern is, again, I told, my concern is very different. If we will start meeting or producing with a global leverage, where we are going to store these grains. We have seen the way FCI stores in the open space. What we are going to do with it. So there is a huge potential. We do not have to worry about that. And things are already started to taking care of through product diversification. Now, huge amount of customization is happening. And not only product diversification, now it's platform diversification. So earlier there was Amazon selling everything and anything. Now, customers are not bothered about Amazon. If I get a good 10 products from 10 different platforms, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to do that. So there is a platform diversification. And at the same time doing the business, now people have started worried about the climate because they know the changing climate is affecting everyone. I cannot say that because I can run AC and I can spend my entire life comfortably. It's creating a global problem. I have to come out of this room. And that is giving a threat in my life as well. And we have to take care of the society also. And for that, what we require is huge investment as far as R&D is concerned. Why we are lacking at the global, with respect to the global efforts. The only challenge is the lack of investment as far as research and development is concerned, innovation is concerned. So these are the things what I can conclude. And finally, and what I was talking about the organic. This is the era where customer is worried about meeting his or her need. People are not ready to buy again. It's organic, fine. It's inorganic, fine. Whatever it is it serving the purpose? And look at it. You go and verify the data, I will tell you. Look at the average fertilizer used in India. And what is the expected fertilizer used for any crop? India is usually lacking, if I'm not wrong, sir. Right? And if that is the case, what does it mean? It means that most of the thing what we eat is organic. Because in organic fertilizer, there are many fertilizer and pesticides, right? That are not sufficient. Look at the fact. Farmers staying in the queue for the fertilizer and they are dying for getting fertilizer on subsidized rate. So how you can say that it's too much pesticide and too much fertilizer is being used in India? But yes, there is a discriminate use. It's a dramatically at certain places it's used in extensive amount, and at other places it's not being used. So that both of them are actually deteriorating the quality of the soil. So it's more of responsible consumption and responsible production instead of just going with the name of organic. How many of we are ready to eat a fruit which is eaten by an insect? Because if it is not eaten by insect, it means the farmer must have used the pesticide. If it is eaten by insect, it means there is a possibility of no use of fertilizer. They are not ready. So, yes, organic is good, but just organic for charging a premium price is not going to be good because now customers are more informed. They can buy once and after that they will never buy, and you know the word of mouth. Now it's word of mouth, right? That can be positive as well as negative. That is going to spread in no time, and that's what sir was talking about. The collapse of the organic thing. Now the trust is broken. You did one mistake, and then the trust is broken, and then people will not come. That's what I used to discuss in the class. Most of the business is not transactional relationship; it's actually trust. Right? So with these words, I conclude the session and hand over to the organizer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for concluding the panel. The insight of the session with academic undertones will help us to critically evaluate the market dynamics.
And now, as a small token of gratitude, I request Professor S.S. Singh sir to present a memento to Mr. Shivendra Gupta sir. Sir, please. I request Rashi Priyadarshini to bring the memento.
Now, I would like to request Professor T. Kumar sir to please come to the dais and present a small token of gratitude to Mr. Anupam Kaushik. Sir. Now, I would request Karina Numan to please bring the memento. Excuse me, sir. Sir, I would also request you to please present the memento to Professor Balram sir as well. As the session comes to a close, I am honored to present a vote of thanks for this event. On behalf of the entire Exile fraternity, I would like to thank the panelists who shared their time and real-world expertise with us, which will undoubtedly assist the students of the School of Rural Management in establishing their presence around the world.
We would also like to extend gratitude to all the speakers, faculty members, and moderators for inspiring us. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the students present over here and the committee members who have been so cooperative throughout the sessions. And with these words, I would like to announce the break. I also request all the professors and speakers to please move towards the green room. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Batch, please stay back.